you requested, and here we are reviewing and testing the new Moto Tag 2. Motorola's best and most accurate way to track whatever you need to. Is it a must-have, and is it better than the Mi Tag? Let's inspect. Let's not waste your time. The Moto Tag 2 is here and promises to be among the best Android trackers you can buy, especially if you want ultra-wideband precision. But it's not automatically the best choice for everyone. If you don't have UWB-supported phone, or if you simply need a reliable, cheaper tracker with better build quality, probably the Xiaomi Tag might actually make more sense. So yes, Moto Tag 2 is excellent, but only if you understand what you're really paying for. So let's make a deep dive with the Generation 2, and honestly, if you see comparisons such as the AirTag 2 versus the Moto Tag 2 and so on, I'd suggest skipping those. These are two completely different ecosystems. Moto Tag works with Google's Find Hub, while the AirTags rely on Apple's Find My network. Which one is better? Depends heavily on your region, but realistically, with the massive number of Android devices out there, Google's network has the potential, even if it's still catching up in terms of maturity. Now, the real competition is on Android. Samsung's Galaxy Tag is locked to Samsung devices only and costs more, so for most people, it's simply not the logical choice. Xiaomi Tag, on the other hand, is surprisingly good. It is affordable, reliable, and impressed me a lot. But has it been dethroned by the Moto Tag 2? The answer might be yes, and the reason is ultra-wideband. But I need to show you some of my findings. At a price of around $40, this thing comes nicely packaged and almost ready to use. Build quality at first glance feels not that impressive, however, Motorola tries to make it a bit more fun with colors: Pantone Arabesque and Laurel Oak. I like to keep things simple, so let's call it orange or green. And I'll stick with the orange one for this review. It is waterproof, likely shock-resistant, and here comes one of the biggest advantages: compatibility with AirTag accessories. Keychains, holders, wallet mounts, almost everything I tested fits perfectly. That alone makes it incredibly versatile. But here's the reality check. The plastic isn't great. If you try to open it a bit more aggressively, it scratches easily or might slightly bend, so while it looks good, doesn't feel premium in the hand, and I'm a bit concerned about the long-term use. Inside, and this is where things get really interesting, you get a beeper, you get the promises for really fantastic battery life, Bluetooth 6 support, and most importantly, ultra-wide-band support. Ultra-wideband is what actually makes trackers like this one feel really smart. It uses very short radio pulses to calculate the exact distance and direction between your phone and the tag. In simple terms, instead of just saying your item is nearby, it can guide you directly to it. But here's the catch: not all smartphones support ultra-wideband. In fact, only a few flagship devices do. That's how I realized that the Nothing Phone 3 doesn't have it. But if you're using something like the Galaxy S25 Plus or the Ultra, then yes, you will fully benefit from this feature. For everything else, the system relies on Bluetooth and of course the Android network. The more devices around you, the faster and more accurate the updates are. In crowded areas, it works great. In remote places, updates are slower because in here we have no GPS, no subscriptions, no SIM card requirements, just a simple, efficient, battery-friendly system. Let me give you a real example. I placed the tag inside my son's wallet. He uses an iPhone, therefore my only way to track is the Moto Tag through Google's Find Hub. And you can see the updates happening every now and then. The more people with smartphones around the tag, the better the precision and the faster the updates. And here's my honest take. It works, but it's not instant. Compared to Apple's Find My, it takes a few seconds before precise location kicks in, whether that's due to Google's network or the tag itself. I think it's hard to say, but over time I realized something important, that even without ultra-wideband, the Tag is very reliable because it constantly updates location and gets the job done. But the ultra-wideband adds this extra layer of precision when you're nearby. Now, let's compare it to something that actually matters, the Xiaomi Tag. Both use Bluetooth-based tracking, and in terms of general accuracy, they are very similar. Coverage, responsiveness, both are solid. The difference comes when you're close. Moto Tag 2, thanks to the ultra-wideband, gives you directional tracking and exact distance just like an AirTag. Xiaomi doesn't. That's the real advantage. But the price is almost double, so you really need to ask yourself, do you actually need that extra precision? The beeper is okay, and that's me being polite. These things should be loud, and this one isn't loud enough. Yes, you can adjust the volume, but even at max, finding it in a noisy environment is not easy. The battery life is rated up to 2 years. Realistically, expect around 1 year depending on usage, temperature, and how often you trigger the sounds. Pretty standard for this category. And battery replacement, quite easy. You just need the pin in order to unlock it. About the software, there's an interesting bit. Moto includes its own app. Not something you strictly need, but it adds some value. You get firmware updates, more accurate battery readings, and sound customization. There is also a feature where double pressing the tag should ring your phone. In my testing, didn't really work reliably. Hopefully, it's something that a firmware update could fix. Now, time to talk about what is not that perfect. Pairing, for example, I had to retry multiple times and even reset the device before it worked properly. Once connected and once the firmware update got updated, everything was stable, but the first setup wasn't smooth. The price is also a factor. Compared to alternatives like Xiaomi Tag, it feels slightly overpriced unless you specifically need ultra-wideband. And again, the plastic build, which could have been a lot better. It's functional, but not confidence-inspiring long-term. In the end, I was quite hyped about this device, mainly because of the ultra-wideband support, but after using it side by side with the Mi Tag, I realized something important, that most of the time, I didn't actually need that feature. When tracking items kilometers away, ultra-wideband simply doesn't matter. So here's a simple breakdown. If you want better build quality, lower price, and really solid Bluetooth tracking, you should go for the Xiaomi Tag. It's the more practical choice for most people. If you want the most advanced Android tracker right now with precise directional finding and future-proof tech, then the Moto Tag 2 is the one to get. It's easily the best ultra-wideband enabled option on Android today. Just needs a slightly better price to be a no-brainer. And now it's you. I know that many of you were waiting for this one. I hope this review helps you to make the right buying decision. If it did, take a moment to support the channel. It really helps me more than you think. And thank you for watching. Remember, don't buy tech you don't actually need. I'm Michael. Gotta see you soon.